Neural patch 4.0.2 is here, but there's a little bit of a problem with something that's not in the patch. There's also a couple of interesting things that are disabled or changed that are not directly in the patch. Let's jump in, let's talk about it. Let's just do the quick ones first. So basically they're reverting the changes to the influence race. Now you may or may not know that they basically made it so that there were 4 influence races at, well, I was going to say at the same time. It's actually 2 at the same time, but twice. So it looks like we're going back to 4. It didn't have the effect they wanted. I was in favor of that, but it didn't really work out. People were just actually defending one over the other, and people were still getting teleported. Didn't really work. It might need a 4th point on the map. It probably definitely needs the missions being removed, but it probably needs changes. This is just better than what I wanted. Makes sense, I was wrong. They tried it, it didn't work. They are also disabling the winged leather shoes speedy perk, and the reason being, I actually have no idea. I don't know why they're disabling this. I'm assuming it can make people super hasty or something. I don't know. Jumping into the patch proper though, it's coming tonight if you're in Pacific time, tomorrow morning if you're in EU. Basically when you wake up in EU, it'll pretty much be there. Now it is bringing the Legacy of Crassus, and the Winter Convergence Festival is going, by the way. So you might want to log in right now, and if you were getting your Azoth Inductor every week, make sure you buy it today. Don't delay. Sounds like an ad read, but it's not. The Legacy of Crassus though actually has some interesting stuff in it. There's a pickaxe that you can get, which, you know, might be an improvement. It looks like it's going to be better than the one I have. And there's some interesting named items. I say some, it's pretty much just the axe and maybe the heavy chest, because keep in mind that these are named items, so you can upgrade them to gear score 700, and then you can change the 3rd perk. Nothing crazy revolutionary there, but worth mentioning. They always do this showcase and this contest winners. I don't really care about that. I care about these patch notes. And this top patch note is, you know, one of the most interesting ones. They are definitely now increasing the heavy dodge stamina from 50 to 55. Now, what a lot of people noticed and realized is that actually your stamina from Hearty is over 10%. So it's basically 110 point something. I don't know the points, don't ask me, but I'll scroll down and I'll sort of ruin the surprise. That's actually getting fixed as well. So they are now just going to be flat out 10, which means you won't be able to double dodge without stabbing yourself in heavy without at least waiting a little bit. Now the next 2 are the most concerning because of something that's not in here, and that is that they are buffing the bow and the musket in PvE. And the way they do this is that they'll buff it in PvE and then they'll actually reduce or increase the scaling basically. So it'll go up by 4.8 in total, but then the reduction will go down by 4.8. Well, 4.8 for the musket, 2.8 for the bow. Now, the problem here is players have realized, and I've not really spoken about this because I didn't know where to put it, but players have realized that if you are a physical ranged weapon, like the bow, musket, and blunderbuss, and you actually convert that physical damage to elemental with a gem or bolt caster, for example, what appears to be happening, and if I'm honest, I've never really tested it because why would I? Don't really care about the ranged weapons that much. But what appears to be happening is that they're not affected by the scaling, which basically means if they've not fixed that little bug, because that shouldn't be happening, it should obviously be affected by the PvP scaling, that means that the bolt caster, for example, in PvP would actually just be doing 2.8% damage more. Well, 99% of 2.8, which, you know, is near enough 2.8. Now, I don't know if that bug's fixed. It's not addressed as far as I can see. I don't see it anywhere. So there's a small chance, maybe a big chance, that if they've not addressed it, that we're actually just going to see more bow and musket because of that elemental scaling means they're going to do even more damage in PvP, which is funny but also worrying. The next most interesting stuff on here is that Pestilence is getting nerfed. Instead of it being 5%, it's going down to 2.5%. This really is a buff to healing rather than a nerf to Pestilence. I mean, it's both, but you know what I mean? Healers are going to be a little bit stronger because of this, because Pestilence was everywhere. Koya's knee guards are getting a 3% buff. I don't know if that's enough, personally. I've not really seen anybody suggest that I use these, but, you know, maybe it will be. Maybe it actually will be enough and it just takes time for us to figure it out. I don't know. Buff to the Void Gauntlet just naturally increased its damage and its light and heavy attacks. Fair enough. I actually think the Void Gauntlet is probably slept on. I think it's quite strong, but I just don't know how to use it, so I can't prove it. So maybe it's just good people who are using it and beating me with it. The next thing is the big one to the main combo right now. Still think it's pretty fair to say that Firestaff Blunderbuss probably one of the best combinations around, and also probably one of the easiest ones to not absolutely suck at. And I know that for the last couple of days, I've actually been playing that and doing not awfully. Sometimes I do really badly, but that's just because I'm bad. But basically what they're doing is when you're in flamethrower, your speed's going to be reduced. Now, obviously there is that haste perk. There's one where if you I think the actual flamethrower perk itself might give you haste. Not sure about it. In my Firestaff blunderbuss build, I'm doing okay, and I'm not even really using any perks. But this is basically a 0.5 meter per second change reduction. It's hard for me to visualize and conceptualize how much that will be. We'll have to wait and see. It's in game. The main thing here is that if you try and run away from somebody with a flamethrower, you actually will get away slightly. They'll do a bit of damage to you, but that you'll get away. And for me, that's one of the most annoying things. Like if I've like stunned myself, because I stun myself too often, and I've used all my abilities that, you know, help me move, then the flamethrower just ticks over and I literally can't do anything about it. I mean, it's not that bad. Most of the time you can like CC it or whatever, but yeah, this is designed to address that. Empowering Fireball perk is having its max value on weapons reduced from 62 to 58. It's only 4%, but that will mean it'll do, you know, a chunk less damage. As I addressed, heart is actually being fully corrected to just 10% now, which means your stamina will be 110. That's because of the heavy dodge. Don't really understand that flail one. Not going to talk about it. For the world experience, I don't know what categories they put this under. I don't know why they did that, but they're rolling back a change to the large and medium orichalcum spawners that prevented rubble piles from persisting. I mean, I haven't mined in forever. I have no idea if they were persisting or not. By the way, if you now make a camp in a raid group, they can be used by anybody. I saw this happening more and more, but I always just assumed it was mostly PvP. Obviously, it turns out it could have been a bug. And they address here that the Winter Convergence Festival has ended. Oh, well, it will end in this patch. Couple of extra fixes, nothing really revolutionary or crazy here. I don't see anything necessarily noteworthy, but let me know if you do. There is one where they fixed a rare server crash when converting to a raid. I mean, does that just mean the whole server's crashing when somebody converts to a raid? I don't know. Thankfully, it's fixed. I'll not keep you. Big shout out to my Patreons. I really appreciate you guys. And if you want to come watch me play all kinds of stuff, mainly New World at this point, then come follow me over on Twitch. For now, have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.